Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we are changing gears out here at the shop and we are getting ready to start installing a jib crane that I have talked about before. We purchased one to go in the shop and I got some help here and I got more help coming. So we've got a little work weekend planned for this weekend going on. This is actually on Friday when I'm filming this. Most people are coming in tomorrow on Saturday, but I had two guys, Don and Keith, both come out a little bit early and they have been helping me get the shop ready. And as you can see, we've got a big open hole here in the middle of the shop. We could have a dance out here if we want to.
Used to be two lathes.
There used to be two lathes sitting right here. And the idea is that I want to put my jib crane between my big Monarch 28-inch lathe and my Monarch 16-inch lathe. And the 16-inch lathe was about where I'm standing, and the other one was right here. The big 28-inch was right here. We have come in this morning with their help. I couldn't have done it by myself, and we've been rearranging the shop.
You couldn't do it with all of us. We'd get the tractor.
Yeah, that big Monarch weighs about a little over 10,000 pounds, but we managed to get it moved. I knew we could.
11,700.
Okay, almost 12,000 pounds, and it's a monster, but we got it done. But right now, the big Monarch, I'll give you a shot here in a little bit, but it's kind of tucked away over here, kind of near where my milling machines are. The small Monarch is in the back shop back there, again, kind of tucked away. And I moved my surface plate and kind of rearranged some other stuff. But game plan is that we're going to come in here and actually cut a hole out in the concrete, according to the plans from the jib crane company. These be 5 feet square, 4 feet deep. So we're going to cut a hole in the concrete, dig a hole down, and I've got bagged concrete that we're going to be mixing up and pouring in here. And I know somebody's going to ask, why are you using bagged concrete rather than just calling it a cement truck? 2 reasons, well, maybe 3. First off, it's logistics. I don't know when I'm going to need it because we got to do all this other stuff first. And if you order concrete, you need to say you need to be here such and such time. And I don't know what time that's going to be. I don't know whether that's going to be today, tomorrow, Sunday. I don't know if it's going to be next week. So I really want to get it done this weekend, if possible. Number 2, price. It's a heck of a lot cheaper to buy the bags than it is the other stuff. I'd have them come out here and deliver about half the price. So, we're going to save some money. So that's really the 2 big reasons that I'm doing it. And logistics is really driving it more than anything else. The price is nice, but I could have paid the extra money. But I was able to find a friend of mine who has a cement mixer that goes on the front of a skid steer, so we can actually mix it up and just drive it right in here and dump it. So we're not going to do wheel bearing. We're going to be able to mix up probably 10, 12 bags at a time. So it should go a little bit quicker. My math is right. 3.7 yards of concrete is about what it's going to take to fill that thing up. Of course, we're going to have some rebar and some lag bolts and stuff in there as well. So all that's got to go down in the hole. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at right now. This is the first time I've seen the concrete under these lathes in a long time. We have got it kind of cleaned up in here so we can make our next mess. Y'all ready to go to work? Y'all already been at work.
We'll start again.
Let's get going.
All right, we're gonna lay out the floor and go ahead and see if we can cut this slab and get that chunk of concrete pulled out of here. All right, we are proceeding on here. I've got my hole marked where I want to cut into the concrete, 5 feet square. We've come in here with a hammer drill and we've drilled the 4 corners. Just to make sure we got a good clear cut all the way down through there. I've also drilled some 5/8-inch holes in here, and we're going to put some anchors in that and hopefully be able, with the bucket on the tractor, just be able to pick this whole piece up when the time comes. So we're going to wait and put those in after we get it cut out. But I think we're ready. And also, I've gone around the shop and tried to cover some stuff up with some plastic just to hopefully keep the dust off of things. But anyway, keep you guys where we're going. So I'm going to kind of do a little voiceover here, kind of talking about what we do. Basically, guys, what I did, I'm just going to say up front, is I turned the cameras on and we let them roll. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time because, like right here, there's myself walking in front of the camera. There's going to be a lot of that. Bear with it. We were not being super camera aware. The camera was just kind of there running, and we were getting the job done. But I did try to get as much of this film as I could. But here we are. We got the gas-powered concrete saw in there, and basically we're just I had scribed on the floor the outline, the 5 foot by 5 foot outline, and we just started cutting this thing. It says water cooled, and it also keeps the dust down with the water, but it makes a mess. So we were kind of going behind it with wet dry shop vac, vacuuming it up the mess as we went. And while it did make a mess, it was really not as bad as what I thought it was going to be. Now, running this concrete saw, it was a workout. I won't lie to you. It took us probably a good hour and a half to cut all that area out and get it down to full depth. As we had shown before, we'd kind of drilled the corners out ahead of time to help those break out a little bit later on, but we were able to just kind of go around this thing and get it done. And that was pretty much what we did on the first day, was just move the machinery around and get the slab cut out. And I guess we were able to get it pulled as well, which we're going to be showing here in a minute. Now, once we got everything in there, I didn't really show this in the video, but I took a sledgehammer and kind of hit on the corners and just made sure that those were broke out. And actually, it cracked the slab. So when we did pull it out here in a little bit, you'll see it's kind of broke those out. So here we go. We put some concrete anchors in there, and I was able to put some eye bolts on those and some straps. I brought the loader in with the forks on it, and we were able to just kind of come right in here. And instead of having to break all that up, I did have some jackhammers I could use if I had to. Fortunately, we didn't have to bust everything out of there. We were able to just come in here and kind of pick that section up. So here we go. We're going to be kind of lifting it out here in just a minute, but this actually worked pretty good once we kind of got everything situated. The concrete anchors, again, we just kind of drilled some, I think those were 5/8 inch holes, and we have some studs sticking up, and I was able to tie some eye bolts into those, and with the straps and the shackles, we were able to just kind of lift it out of there. So going up here, just kind of picked up on it, and here we go. It actually popped out pretty good. Again, the corners broke out, but that was because I had gone in there with that big sledgehammer, and I had banged on those ahead of time just to kind of make sure we had the corners broken, because the concrete saw didn't get all the way in there to those corners, but we did have it drilled out. But here it goes. Pulled it out. The vast majority of the slab, just pulled it right out of there and took it out. And you can see up underneath it that nice kind of orange soil. We're going to be seeing plenty more of that here in a little bit, but that was some soil that was brought in here when we built the building. There's the corners. We basically just went in there and got them out. We took some hand trucks and were able to just get them out of there and out of the shop. And we did end up, I don't think it showed in the video, but later on we did end up putting some of those chunks back in the hole just to kind of take up some of the space and save a little bit on concrete. But the vast majority of that, we just kind of got it out of there and got it out of the way. So this all was basically on day one, and once we got the hole cleaned out there at the end, that pretty much, between moving the machinery, cutting the hole, and getting it cleaned out, that was pretty much what the three of us were able to do on day one. And we did stop. It was probably around 5 o'clock that afternoon, and we'd spent pretty much the whole day in the shop just doing the prep work. Now here we are on day two. This is Saturday morning, and you can see I got folks starting to come in. We got started first thing in the morning digging the hole out. Now this whole process of digging the hole out, it was, again, a lot of work, and it took us pretty much all morning to get the hole out. So again, the size of the hole is 5 foot square, and we had to go down 4 foot deep. Again, that kind of orange sandy clay soil, that was some soil that we brought in when we were building the shop. We had to they had to basically dig out down till we got to kind of a sandy clay layer, a base layer. There was a lot of muck up on the top. They dug down to that, and they brought that fill dirt in, and that became the foundation where the slab was poured on top of. And that layer was pretty easy to dig out. It's about 18 inches deep. And, at first when we were in there, we were able to get, several people shoveling at a time, 3 or 4 people in the hole. As the hole got deeper, there were fewer and fewer people able to just physically be able to get into the holes. So toward the end, really, well, there for a while we were able to have 2 people in the hole, and then as it got deeper, really only 1 person could be down there just because of having to move the shovels around and all that. But it worked out. It worked out just fine. And here we do a little time lapse digging out. You can see down there, once we get that more gray soil, that's the native soil that was there. It was more of a sandy clay, and the deeper we got, also the wetter it got. There was a lot of moisture down there, and in fact, once we got down to full depth, there was actually some groundwater starting to come into the hole a little bit. Wasn't terrible, but not surprising either. It's pretty wet out here. You can see it was kind of muddy down there in the bottom. So there's the hole, kind of the full depth, and the next thing we did was we kind of went around and we drilled some holes into the concrete, and this is just to be able to tie the slab, the existing slab, into the new foundation. So we were able to take some rebar a little bit later right here where, first off we lined it with a moisture barrier. There we are, kind of stapling the plastic to the side so it wouldn't fall in. We ended up cutting that plastic kind of level with the bottom of the slab. So, there is at least some a moisture barrier in there. Of course, when that concrete goes in there, it kind of overlaps. Here we are dropping the rebar cage down in there. This cage was basically built right to the plans that the engineering company or the crane company had with the instructions. We built that rebar frame, a 3/4 inch rebar on 1 inch spacings around. And we used the loader on the tractor. People standing in the way, I know, but dropped it down into the hole. And then once we got that down in there, we came back in and drove the rebar in to tie it all together and wired it all together. Nothing's welded. It's all wire tied together, which is what you're supposed to do with rebar. It's not supposed to be welded. It's supposed to be tied. And the other thing we had to do was kind of trim that plastic up, and here we are epoxying in. We already got the rebar into those holes that we drilled, so we epoxied all that in place so that it's up in there. We were just kind of putting a little bit extra epoxy in here at the end, but we did put the epoxy into the holes first and ran the rebar up in there, so it's very firm. We actually took a sledgehammer, and kind of drove it up in there a little bit as well to make sure. So that basically, this whole thing is now tied with the rebar to the existing foundation, and then the cage, the rebar cage, was tied to that rebar up on the top. So I think we're going to show it here in just a second. We came in with the loader and kind of picked the cage up off the bottom and wire tied it all together so that it was basically all the rebar there. There we are, kind of picking that cage up to tie it all in, and then once everything was tied together, pretty much ready to go here with the pour, other than getting the mounting studs in there. So that was all tied in together. So everything, the existing slab and the foundation, all are now basically one piece once the concrete is poured. And also we did trim that. I think I said this. We trimmed the plastic up so that it wasn't overlapping the concrete. It just kind of goes right up to the bottom of the concrete. And might get a little bit of seepage in there, but it shouldn't be bad. Here's the form or the template for the bolts. So we just kind of cut out the whole pattern. We just laid that up against the base and traced it over. And those mounting studs are 3 feet long, 3/4 inch diameter. They're threaded at the top. There's a bend in the bottom down there to kind of hold them in place. Now, for mixing the concrete, this was a job. But we had that concrete mixer there that was mounted on the front of a skid steer tractor. Really made it a lot easier. We had the concrete, and we mixed it up as we went. We were able to put probably about 12 bags of concrete. I don't think I ever actually really counted them. We were just kind of mixing until we got a full load. There probably some loads had a few more in it than others, but we were able to mix up that ready mix, or that bagged concrete in there, and it really went not too bad. I mean, we were able to get a pretty good sized load each time. I think in that hole, each batch in the that we were dropping in there was filling between 3 and 4 inches deep of concrete in there. So here we are bringing the skid steer in after we got it mixed up. We basically just drive it right over the hole, and there's a little chute in the bottom of that mixer that the concrete just kind of drops right out of, and it's all hydraulically powered. The auger in there is powered off the hydraulics on the skid steer, and once we kind of got over the center of the hole, they signaled for me to open it up, and it's open right now. And again, standing in front of the camera, Keith, move over. Everybody's getting in the way, but again, we're doing the best we can. But it just dropped it in there, and again, that ended up being about 3 to 4 inches of thickness in the hole each time, and it went fairly quickly once we started mixing here. Basically, we kind of started mixing concrete about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday after lunch. And then after that, we were finished up about 5 o'clock. So the mixing and pouring, it was about a 4-hour job. Again, not terrible. It was a lot of work, but it wasn't terrible. So at the end of each mix, again, there's a little hydraulic chute in the bottom of that. After it kind of everything drops out, I pull back out. We mix up another load, and here you can see he's vibrating it in there. That's a little vibrator. And it's amazing. If you've never seen one of these concrete vibrators, when you stick it in the concrete, it's almost like it just turns that pile of concrete into it just fluidizes it, and it just flows down in there. And here's a shot from inside the skid steer. I took this with my cell phone, and you can kind of see the concrete coming out the bottom a little bit better here. So once we kind of got over the hole, I opened it up, and you can see it dropping right down in there. And our concrete had a pretty good slump to it, which is what you want. I will say that the first batch that we mixed up was pretty much a train wreck. We did not get it started out too dry. We brought it in there. It didn't want to pour out. So we went back outside, and honestly, the first load was it was a little bit too wet. But we kind of figured it out as we went, and once we kind of got on about the second or third, really probably the third load, we kind of was getting a much better feel for how to mix this up. This was I think this may have been the last load, and you can see it's pouring down rain. It came a little thunder shower that afternoon for about 30 minutes at the end, and my crew, it didn't even phase them. They just kept right on going. We were getting soaking wet, but we were getting it done. We were almost done at this point. In fact, I think this was the last batch that we brought in right here going into the shop. So we kind of had a system out there. Yeah, it's pouring down rain. We got plastic over the concrete, so it's not getting wet and getting ruined, and we were able to keep it pretty protected over there on the trailer. And I think here, this is pretty much the last load coming in. You can see the concrete's up almost to the top, needed just a little bit more. We're going around vibrating it pretty heavily right there. We were just, at this point, I was just dropping a little bit at a time, and I was shutting that door, trying to make sure we had enough in there, and they were kind of getting it around there. Once that was done, we troweled it all in place best we could, and the pour was done. And that's pretty much what happened. We were right on time. It's 5 o'clock, and we just finished, believe it or not. So the hole is full of concrete, and I really want to thank my crew that came out here today to help me. So I'm going to let them kind of go around and introduce themselves, and just tell me your name and where you're from. And Keith, why don't you hand them the mic? They can just kind of pass it down. So start down there in the end.
I'm Zane from Nassau Metal Works, Yulee, Florida.
There you go.
Timothy Roop from Tallahassee.
I'm Keith. As Jim said, I'm a repeat offender. I'm from Jacksonville.
I'm Ed Fair. I'm also a repeat offender from Conyers, Georgia.
Me too. Don Hasselbeck, Creedmoor, North Carolina.
Eric Heil from Cumming, Georgia.
Great. Appreciate it, guys. with many hands, it's not that terrible, although it felt like it at times today, particularly when we were digging that hole out. That was a lot of work this morning, but today, you know, we already had the slab pulled, and we came in here and started digging, and really, it took us till about lunchtime to get everything dug down, and we had to drill the holes in the concrete and all that, and then we had to go to town and get another drill bit because we didn't have the right size and whatever. But right after lunch, we were able to start mixing and pouring the concrete, and pretty much took us the other half of the day. And this is, according to the math, 3.7 yards of concrete in here, which was about 150, 160 bags of concrete that we mixed up. So and each one of them had to be picked up.
Only 80 pounds a bag.
Only 80 pounds a bag. There you go. So anyway, a lot of work, but I think we got it in here. And now it's just a matter of letting it set. It's going to take a little while. We're going to have to kind of trowel it some more as it starts setting up, but it's going to probably be an hour or two before it really starts setting up just because of how much mass we got in here. But anyway, I'm real happy with the results.
It's awesome.
And I want to thank you guys for coming out. I certainly could not have done this without your help. I also want to mention two other people. Tony McPherson here in town, he let me borrow his skid steer with the concrete mixer on it, which was a game changer. I can't imagine us having to do this by hand, so he let me borrow that. And then Forbes Matthews, up just south of Atlanta, he let me borrow his concrete saw and the vibrator and some other concrete tools that we were able to do that as well. So all that stuff got put to good use, and everything worked good. And anyway, we're done. So now, game plan. Is it just got to set up and dry according to the instructions. And believe it or not, we have been following the instructions from the engineering information that we got from the Bridge Crane Company. And basically says to let this set for a week before we put the mast on. And after a week, I can come in here and put the mast on it, but it says not to lift a full load for 4 weeks, just to give the concrete plenty of time to set up. So maybe next weekend, we'll come in here and try to get the mast mounted on here and go ahead and get the grout poured and all that once we get it leveled up, and then just walk off and let it set up for a while before we're able to kind of put any weight on it. But anyway, we got the worst part of it done. And again, thank you guys for coming out. I really, really, really do appreciate it. It amazes me that people are willing to come out here and help me do work that nobody else wants to do. So I greatly appreciate it. For free. For free. Hey, y'all got lunch out of the deal. But anyway, thank you guys. And guys, yeah, we'll probably wrap this up after a while, but I wanted to make sure we recognized all these guys before they got out of here because they're getting ready to cut out. Some of them are anyway. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it is the morning after, and I was getting ready to pull the form up here, or this template, whatever you want to call it. Basically, that little D-shaped piece matches the base. So the outside of that will be exposed concrete. On the inside of that area will all be grouted, and the concrete will be up underneath it. So we tried to smooth up the outside as best we could with just trowels. I didn't have really a concrete float, unfortunately. And by the time I actually went to town and bought one, but by the time I got back here, it was too hard to do anything with it. So it kind of is what it is, but I think it's going to be fine. Most of it's going to be covered up with machinery anyway. But I was going to go ahead and pull this out of here. Try to anyway. Let's see if we can get that. definitely some roughness in there in that center section, but again, I'm not worried about that one bit because it's all going to be grouted over. And that roughness will just let the grout have something to kind of grip a hold of. I wasn't too worried about that when we were doing everything. I think it's going to be just fine. The concrete on the outside again is not, we didn't have the stuff to really get it as smooth as the concrete on the floor, but it is what it is. It's going to be fine. Well, guys, I think that's pretty much a wrap. We got this job knocked out. Could not have done this without all the help of people that came in. And I really greatly appreciate everybody that jumped in here and really got this job done for us. It really made a big difference just having everybody here helping out. Many hands make short work, and once again, we proved that to be true. Now it's just kind of wait on getting this thing cured up. Hopefully we can get the mast installed here in about a week or so, and I think once we get the mast installed, we'll have to rearrange the machines, kind of get stuff put back in here where we can get things back to working in the shop. I do have my machine set up more or less where I can use them if I need to. I can work around some things. A couple of things are inaccessible, but I kind of know what projects I got coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I tried to plan accordingly where I could access stuff if I needed to before we could get stuff moved back. But that's kind of where we're at right now. So with that, we're going to sign off. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks, guys, for helping. And we'll be doing more on this as we get it further along. So with that, we're going to sign off. We'll catch you guys on the next video. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thumbs up and comments greatly appreciated. Bell icon up there, hit it. Get notifications when new videos are posted. Big, huge thank you. Those who support the site financially through Patreon and PayPal. There's links to that down in the description below. And with that, we're going to sign off. Catch you guys in the next video. Again, thanks for watching.